Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Now, I've just come out of a lengthy interview or discussion with a couple of very, very interesting people who are building a very exciting project, and it's called Boere Media. Now, we're going to be talking about a number of issues on Tuesday night. That's this coming Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Johannesburg times, just letting you know in advance. Okay, now let's get back to the subject here, and the subject is the level of crime in South Africa, which is just it's just gone absolutely crazy. I mean, it's just the country is out of control, and I applaud Ramaphosa for saying that he is going to make it a life in jail if you rape a woman. I think that's a very, very good starting point. But he has to go a lot further. When it comes to murder, just like rape, no bail. You can't let these guys out on bail. If they're allegedly the perpetrators of the crime, they need to be kept inside until such time as that case goes before the courts. And in the case of murder, over 300,000 South Africans have now signed a petition calling for the death penalty to be reinstated in the wake of several high-profile murders and acts of violence against women in the country. The petition was established after the public learned that missing UCT student Uneni Mrwetwana was raped and murdered at a post office in Claremont in Cape Town. Citing Mrwetwana's murder, as well as the murders of Anine Boysen, Karabo Mokuna, and Riva Steenkamp, and many, many more, the petitioners said that we as a movement must find our voice to bring back the death sentence for crimes against women and children in the hope of saving this great country. Now, I think it should be anyone. You know, you shouldn't restrict it to a particular group within the community. I think murder should just be an automatic, if you're found guilty, death sentence. And it's going to clear out the prisons a bit as well, which is a good thing. Despite evidence that capital punishment does not deter crime, calls for the death penalty are regularly revived, particularly following a spike in violent crimes. Crime statistics show that there were 20,336 murders in South Africa between April 2017 and March 2018. A 7% increase from the previous year. This puts the country's murder rate at close to 36 people murdered per 100,000 in the population, and 57 murders each day. Earlier this year, President Cyril Ramaphosa answered voters' questions ahead of the national elections, one of which questioned the plausibility of the death penalty being reinstated to combat high levels of crime in South Africa. The president said quite plainly that it is not the state's place to take life. He said, "Our constitution has enshrined the right to life. This means that the state should not be the one to terminate life. The surge in criminality should be addressed in other ways rather than ending people's lives." Now, I totally disagree with that. I think that an eye for an eye. If someone murders someone else, then the government takes care of them. Takes them out of the system. Much better way to go. This sentiment has been expressed by many constitutional law experts who say that the state acts on behalf of the people, and by perpetrating brutal acts such as capital punishment, the entire country is implicated in that. Well, you know what it will do? It'll slow down the murder rate, that's for sure. Because if someone does do it, they know that they're going to be ending their lives as well. And I think that's a huge way of slowing down the murders that are happening in South Africa. Anyway, they went on to say, to endorse the death penalty is to endorse state violence and the brutality that necessarily forms part of premeditating killing, said constitutional law expert Pierre de Vos. The death penalty thus brutalizes the whole of society and implicates us all in the kind of violence that we wish perpetrators to be punished for. However, not all political leaders are opposed to the death penalty. In its 2019 election manifesto, the IFP said it wants harsher punishment for criminals, which includes prison terms with hard labour, as well as reopening the debate on bringing back the death penalty in South Africa. The abolishment of the death penalty in South Africa is not simply a government decision. It is rooted in law and follows the dark past of using the punishment in the country. At one stage, South Africa had one of the highest execution rates globally. Between 1959 and 1989, South Africa executed almost 3,000 people by hanging, with over 1,200 in the 1980s alone. Solomon Ngobeni was the last person to be officially executed in South Africa in November 1989. Following a 5-year moratorium on the death penalty between 1990 and 1995, the issue was finally dealt with in the constitutional case of State v. Makwanyane. The judgment was unanimous, with all 10 judges giving different reasons as to why the death penalty should be abolished. These included issues such as possible mistakes made during the investigation process, as well as the right to life under the Constitution. Notably, the judgment also recognized that while the death penalty may be popular among members of the public, it was counter to the country's constitution. The president of the Constitutional Court at the time, Arthur Chaskilson, said that it was disputed whether public opinion, properly informed of the different considerations, would in fact favour the death penalty. He said that even though the majority of South Africans might believe that the proper sentence for murder should be death, it is not a question of public will, but whether the Constitution allows such a sentence, and it does not. According to Amnesty International, to reinstate the death penalty would be going against the global trends, where cases of the death penalty being used as punishment for crimes are decreasing. In its latest report on the death penalty, looking at available data for 2018, the group said the figures show that the death penalty is firmly in decline, and effective steps are being taken across the world to enter the use of this cruel and inhuman punishment. Well, if you look at the farm murders and the way they torture the farmers, I think they deserve the death penalty, quite honestly. I think that's a no-brainer. Anyway, they recorded at least 690 executions in 20 countries in 2018, a decrease of 31% compared to 2017, at least 993 people being executed. This figure excludes executions in China, which are believed to run to the thousands. During the United Nations General Assembly in December, 121 countries, an unprecedented number, voted to support a global moratorium on the death penalty. Only 35 states voted against it. The group said, slowly but steadily, global consensus is building towards the ending the use of the death penalty. Amnesty has been campaigning to stop executions around the world for more than 40 years, but with more than 19,000 people still languishing on death row worldwide, the struggle is far from over, the group said. At the end of 2018, 106 countries had abolished the death penalty in law for all crimes, and 142 countries had abolished the death penalty in law or practice. So, there's the debate. To hang someone up for murdering or not to hang someone up for murdering. In my view, the way it is in South Africa, if you're found guilty, there should be no choice but you should be hung. It's a harsh sentence, but it's going to stop all these murders. Well, it's going to slow them down anyway. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for updates. Please like this video, and please have a safe day.